Welcome, guys, to another episode of Southern Scrap Nation's podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Jonas. Today is May 2nd, 2018. It is 10 o'clock in the morning here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Um, yeah, so we're here. Remember, guys, to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play, as well as our YouTube channel. You can get there all at Southern Scrap Nation. You can get there at southernscrapnation.com as well. You can follow us on social media on all forms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Best places to reach us at Southern Scrap Nation, as well as my Instagram personally, Daniel Jonas 94. Yep. So I hope you guys had a good weekend. We have some stuff to cover in the MMA world. Today's episode is Sips and Slips. It's our 10th episode. Woo! We're not going to go over any fights this weekend because there are none. The next fights will be next weekend, UFC 224 Rio. You got Amanda Nunes taking on Raquel Pennington. So we'll do a card for that, or an episode for that, to recap all that kind of stuff. On that card, you have Vitor Belfort versus Lyoto Machida, Kevin Gastelum versus Jacare Souza. So, a card full of very, very high-level martial arts, mixed martial arts. The Vitor and Lyoto's kind of cool because we never saw it happen. It's a Brazilian versus Brazilian fight in Brazil. Typically never happens, but I'm excited for that. And then the Jacare versus Kevin Gastelum's just for, to see who's the next. It's not necessarily a number one contender spot, but more just to see where they stand in the rankings on who gets a crack at Robert Whittaker next. And then in the main event, obviously Raquel Pennington versus Amanda Nunes for the bantamweight championship, women's 135. Not much to say about that besides it's a pretty good fight. There are two UFC couples. I've talked about this before. It's cool how they could market it. Raquel Pennington dating Tisha Torres, which we have some news about her coming up. And then, obviously, Nina Ansaroff and Amanda Nunes are the UFC celebrity couple there. All right, guys. So we're going to go into some fight announcements. We had a couple of announcements. Nothing major, right? A lot of these are just filling in puzzle pieces or setting up new cards. But we got a couple guys on these cards that people like to see. We like to see these guys fight, so we can go ahead and get started. So our first announcement was for the TUF season finale. So the Ultimate Fighter 27 going on right now, the undefeated season, right? So you have Stipe Miocic coaching on one side, and you have Daniel Cormier on the other side. All the guys in this show are all with undefeated records coming in, and they're just fighting to get that Ultimate Fighter spot, just like every other 26 seasons, right? And then it'll appear on the Ultimate Fighter season finale, which I can only assume is gonna be. I'm pretty sure, I can check, but I'm almost 100%. They do this every year. It's gonna be right before the 226 card, which is the big July 7th card. They typically do two fights on that weekend. They'll do one on Friday for the Ultimate Fighter season finale, typically an FS1, and then on Saturday they'll do the big pay-per-view. So to headline the fight, which you're not going to do the finale winners, because as much as they're trying to put light on these finale winners through the show, no one knows who they are. It's a sad fact. No one knows who they are until they fight in that octagon on that weekend. You can put out all the Ultimate Fighters you want to. Ultimate Fighter is a dying TV show. No one watches it. People watch it, but no one's really watching it. We get it. The Big Brother reality show, it's gone and passed. And then come back again with the return of Jersey Shore, I guess. That show, to me, this return of it doesn't make any sense. I thought through the show they got their shit not got their shit together, but they created an empire based off who they were so they wouldn't have to do a reality show again. Now they're reunited and they're older. It just seems sad. Just seems like a sad existence. Like, are they going to reunite again? Because then, I don't know. It's just weird. I wonder if it's the same house, too. Well, whatever. Um, so, the Ultimate Fighter season finale, the 27th season. I think they're going to end it after this. If this new fight deal is correct, or if it's true, these rumors, then whatever company is going to take over, and then the Contender Series will be the replacement, which is great. I love the Contender Series. It's less of the drama, right? You get more of just like, these two are fighting. This is a little bit about them. Here you go. If they finish fantastically, they get a contract. Moving on. Dana White owns that series, so he kind of has like freedom to do with what he wants. That's why it's connected to Dana White's looking for a fight. They're both his projects. So, I'd rather have that than this long drawn out trying to cause drama in a house full of dudes. I don't know. It's just we've done it. I don't think it can get any more crazier. So to headline that is going to be Israel Adesanya versus Brad Tavares. A little insight on that fight. We had Brad Tavares win his last fight, right? And then immediately called out Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping's for sure not going to take that fight, because if he has one fight left, it's not going to be Brad who the fuck Tavares. No disrespect to Brad Tavares in that sense, but it's Michael Bisping. He's going to want a name. It's just, that's the way it is. If as much as you want, like, as much as he's thinking about retirement, they dropped the Nick Diaz comment, which we can talk about. Yeah, recently Michael Bisping and Nick Diaz have been going, not them personally, but in the tabloids, the media of MMA. Michael Bisping has been saying, yeah, why don't we set up a Nick Diaz fight at 195 catch weight? Because I think Michael Bisping's looking to fight at 205 if he does his last fight, but he'll do a catch weight with Nick Diaz, which Nick Diaz has fought up to 185 before against Anderson Silva. He's a pretty big guy for the 170, but to fight at 205, like, that's not going to happen for Nick. And 195, I don't know. Maybe he probably definitely wouldn't win. I mean, he would take the fight for sure. Sorry, guys. He would for sure take the fight. Just because of how big it would be. It's a great fight. You think about it. Pace versus pace. Mike probably hits a little bit harder. When it comes to arsenal-wise, Nick has been the more variety-based Diaz brother. We see Nate fight. It's a lot of boxing, jiu-jitsu, right? Not necessarily saying that Nick's got, like, the wrestling or whatever, but Nick will be more likely to throw kicks. He'll be more likely to mix things up. But he's still got that Nate Diaz, or the Diaz brothers fight style. Right? Forward pressure, high volume, doesn't check leg kicks. Michael Bisping can capitalize on it. But, pace versus pace. It always makes an exciting fight. So back to the Israel Adesanya versus Brad Tavares fight. The last time Israel fought was, I'm pretty sure, on that last card with Brad. So it's a quick turnaround for Israel. He's just trying to get in there, man. Trying to make a name quickly. His last fight against Marvin Vettori was, he can't knock everybody out, and you can't expect him to, because there's not a lot of guys out there that can knock everybody out. 185, you're kind of getting more into that range of being able to, but unless you're like a heavyweight, right, then you can knock everybody out. But regardless, Israel's striking is on a different level. So it's imperative for the person he's fighting to make sure that they incorporate a lot of wrestling, chain wrestling, things that he's definitely not going to be ready for. And it makes it hard, just to make it a kickboxing match, especially when you get to the upper echelons of middleweight when a guy's going to go for a single leg but then switch it to a double on you, or go from a double to a single back to a high, whatever the case may be. Probably not to the extent of DC chain wrestling, but they're still going to do a little bit more than the guys in your gym, or a little bit more than the people that you were able to stuff the takedowns on. There's going to be that one person that can do a little bit more. And then obviously we've seen him get back up to his feet. However, what if he gets a guy that can just hold him down? Brad Tavares is definitely not that guy. Not necessarily a guy that can't hold him down, but a guy that's going to incorporate that wrestling the way we think the way that we think Israel's Kryptonite would do. In this one, you're going to get more of a stand-up fight. Maybe Brad will threaten some stuff just to keep him guessing, but you're going to see just a higher level fighter, right? So you have Marvin Vettori, and then you have Brad Tavares. He's on the next level. So essentially, you're watching Israel climb a ladder. The first guy he fought, Rob Wilkinson, didn't really, he in that fight, he kind of got to showcase what he did or what he's capable of doing, but also at the UFC caliber. And then this next fight, you got a guy that wouldn't back down, put pressure on him, gave him a real UFC caliber fight. You saw it go to the distance. So if there's any holes in his game, that's time to dissect them at that level. And now with this fight against Brad Tavares, you're getting just that next level. So hopefully he can either get through this quickly and maybe bring in that one punch knockout, one kick knockout, or we see him suffer his first loss in the UFC. Either way, it is what it is. But it's a good fight for Brad as well. Brad's doing well in the middleweight division, coming off a win. So, all right, the next fight that was announced is the return of Junior Dos Santos versus Blagoy Ivanov, and it's gonna be the main event of UFC Boise. What to say about this fight? So, for those that don't know, Blagoy Ivanov, he was the former World Series of Fighting heavyweight champion. Other fun facts about him is he's fought Fedor twice in combat jiu-jitsu or combat sambo. He's lost one, won one. So he beat Fedor in his jam, right? So that would be like beating Israel Adesanya in a kickboxing match. So we know that Blagoy is capable of, if not capable, but he's gonna fight. He's bringing a fight. This guy's down to bang because, he's a combo, or he's a world champion sambo practitioner, combat sambo. So it's tough stuff over there. He's beaten Fedor. It's a pretty big thing to say. Now, he hasn't really fought much professionally. He's had, I don't know what's kept him from fighting besides the World Series of Fighting dissolving and, all the fighters being, thrown about. Justin Gaethje heading to the UFC. Then you have a couple of fighters going to the PFL now. So with this fight, Junior coming back from his layoff of, both these guys are coming off of layoffs. Junior's coming off of a suspension from USADA that he just recently, not necessarily got a sentence. Oh, he got a sentence reduced, but it also got retracted, because it was found that he had tainted supplements in and what he got tested positive for. So now he's coming back. He and Nogueira have been out for a while. He's back. And what I can see about this fight is, Ivanov has that Cain Velasquez style, the forward press. He's a smaller heavyweight. He's 5'11". He's like DC in that sense. He's a short heavyweight, 250, 5'11". If he can just back Junior up to the cage, it's going to be a nightmare, right, for Junior. He's had problems. That's where his problems lie. He's got a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I don't know why he doesn't use it. Ivanov's last loss was to Alexander Volkov by submission. I'm not 100% sure why Junior's never used his jiu-jitsu in that way. He's got a black belt under the Nogueira brothers. So we'll see in that fight. Is it the beginning of Blagoy and the end of Junior, or is it the resurgence of Junior Dos Santos? And does Iva need some more tests or some more tests in the UFC um, heavyweight division? It's a big thing because he's fighting Junior Dos Santos as his first fight, where you have a guy that's already lost, or that he's already lost to, possibly ranked lower than Junior. So we'll see where he lands on that one. So then you got Michael Chiesa and Anthony Pettis rebooked for UFC 226. Let's see. Excuse me. Well, let's see if we can get this one going. Not much to say about that because, well, we've already done our talks about it. Obviously, Michael Chiesa coming back off of getting a dolly thrown at him and getting glass in his face, getting cut up. And then Anthony Pettis trying to become a late replacement for Khabib, not coming through because of contract negotiations. So they are set to rematch each other, which is not on a bad card. I'll take that card. UFC 226. All right, you got Nick Lentz versus David Tamor, UFC Utica. It's a good fight. Both guys going to bring it. David Tamor, very, very skilled stand-up artist, and Nick Lentz, just your neck. That's the game plan. He's going to grab your neck, and he's going to choke you out. Nick Lentz trains down with Henry Hooft and those guys. Any highlight video of Nick Lentz training, guaranteed he's put someone in a guillotine. Guaranteed he's got some guillotine on somebody. Guy's nasty with neck chokes. David Tamor, he's just a guy that, Muay Thai wise, he and his brother, very, very, very clean, smooth Muay Thai. And then the biggest announcement that got announced last night, it was in the works last night, announced today. Joanna Jędrzejczyk makes a return against Tisha, the Tiny Tornado Torres. What a fight. This is essentially setting up the next line after Jessica Andrade fights Rose. So you're starting to get this cycle. You're starting to get a lineup now in the women's strawweight division. I'm telling you, with Rose winning that fight, this division gets more and more exciting. We haven't seen this matchup before. We got Tisha Torres, who's competed in professional kickboxing, and then you have Joanna, obviously, with her kickboxing background. But these are two of the top girls that have never fought each other yet. And it's either Tisha's time to shine and, cement herself as the next person in line to fight for the title against Rose, or Joanna just on her revenge tour, trying to get back to that belt, To me, it's kind of confusing because I didn't think Joanna wanted to go back down to 115, but I guess since she's not using the whole excuse of weight cutting anymore, I guess she feels fine there and she'll get down. But eventually I think she's going to have to go up to that 125 division. But for right now, man, UFC Calgary, get ready. That one's going to be fucking fireworks. So then Brandon Moreno versus Ray Borg has been called off again. Ray Borg's son has been going through some difficult times. Pray for the Borg family on that one. Just his son was born, had a bunch of health complications, and had to go, I think, in for surgery. Just a nightmare for a parent to have to deal with. So he's not fighting on that card, and everything, if you know the Borg family, prayers go out to them, or whatever the case may be. Tough times for him. In steps Alexander Pantoja for him. So you'll still have the Brandon Moreno fight, which I'm excited. Like I has stated before, Brandon Moreno is one of my favorite fighters, and in this case is no different than any other. He gets to fight, so I'm excited. All right, and in the works that has not been announced, but they're trying to figure out, is Eddie Alvarez versus Dustin Poirier 2. I'm not mad at the matchup. I think it's good that they run it back. Khabib's not fighting until December anyways. Why not have this matchup? They both had their their moments in the fight. Obviously, the fight getting called off. I'm pretty, yeah, the fight getting called off due to a knee. Um, yeah. So I'm glad they're going to run it back. An illegal knee to a downed opponent on Eddie did to Poirier after Poirier hurt Eddie, and then Eddie hurt Poirier. It's going to be a great fight. I think that's a great, 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 great matchup just to keep the lightweight division going. Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier, all both coming off wins to Justin Gaethje. So if there's any time now, or if there's any time to, set these guys up, it's now, right? Before one gets a title shot, and then we just never see this rematch ever happen again. So those are the fight announcements this week. There's a couple. There's like Ryan Couture is fighting on a Bellator card that got announced. Ryan Couture, the son of Randy Couture, he fought in the UFC a little bit, didn't do so well. Moved to Bellator, did better, and now he's fighting on a main event. Speaking of Bellator, this past weekend we had the heavyweight Grand Prix tournament, one of the semi or quarterfinals. We had Fedor versus Frank Mir, and man, what a night for jiu-jitsu it was, but not for Frank Mir. Let's start off with Dylan Dennis making his MMA debut. So Dylan Dennis made his first successful MMA debut, even though it started off with a rocky start. His opponent landed two clean left hook or left over the top lefts, right? Yeah. On Dylan. Dylan kind of coming out in that Conor McGregor fighting style, obviously because he fights with the guys and trains with the guys at SBG. But he did the classic Khabib move and just leaned his head back. Man, those over-the-top rights are going to catch you. They're going to clip you. If you just lean your head back, your chin's stuck right up in the air. Right? If you're going to duck them, you got to tuck your chin. If you're going to lean back at least, if you're taller and you're not going to just slip the punch, at least keep your chin or your shoulder up and like lean away. Take it on the shoulder or whatever you may want to do if you want to go old school boxing. But don't just karate style lean your head up. Gunnar Nelson suffered against Santiago Ponzinibbio because of that, right? They'll threaten with straight punches. They'll get you to start lifting your head up incrementally backwards, right? As I throw a jab, you'll slip back one time. I'll throw a cross. You'll slip back. Your head gets incrementally a little bit higher until finally it's all the way up in the air, and that's when I can throw my overhand. And if I have you on the back foot, regardless if it hits clean or not, if it's hard enough, I can make you drop. But since you're going backwards, your balance is going to be compromised as well. So just in overall, you're in a compromised athletic position, and any force is going to make it look worse than it actually is. You could have the best chin in the world, but if I clip you hard enough and you're on the back foot and all your weight's leaning backwards, there's a chance you'll probably fall backwards. And that's the case that we saw. However, Dylan pulled half guard to save his life, and as the guy was bailing out, he threatened with a armbar sweep. As the guy just bailed, Dylan grabbed a hold of his leg, pulled him in, sucked him in nice and tight, and bellied down for a toe hold. Beautiful work from Dylan Dennis to get the W in the first round. That was followed up by not the Rafael Lovato fight. However, Rafael Lovato Jr. was supposed to take on John Salter, but he had to fight Gerald Harris. Rafael Lovato Jr. first round submits Gerald Harris in a sneaky but beautiful armbar. He went one way, he went to belly down. Gerald Harris is like, oh, defense for the belly down. He shoots the leg across, creating a cross, like one leg across the throat, the other behind the neck for an X kind of placement. I like the positioning of the armbar. I don't know like the name of it. I've heard different names, but anyway, gets the armbar, flips him over. like kind of reminiscent of Ronda Rousey whenever she'd get the belly down armbar and then roll through, capture the leg. In this case, he didn't have to capture the leg. He just crossed his feet, one to the head to support the head up, and then the one on the throat to pull the head back down, forcing the shoulder to come off the mat. And then once the shoulder's off the mat, it's very, very easy to apply pressure to the elbow and cause it to, cause your opponent to tap. Right? Once your shoulder's off the ground, let's say you go for a full bar or an arm bar from mount. If you just fall back with the arm bar and their shoulder's able to get to the mat, they can slowly start to pull that elbow straight down back to the mat and essentially defend the arm bar. However, once the shoulder is off the mat, the distance to travel and pull that arm out is way harder, and there's no real muscle to do it. You have to be just a muscle bound dude to be able to just bicep curl it back. But as soon as your shoulder's compromised, it's very, very hard to just muscle that arm back and get it out of danger. So Rafael did a very good job, obviously being the black belt jiu-jitsu practitioner he is, and he didn't let any escape. So then you had one of the better submissions of the night, personally, I thought, was Emmanuel Sanchez getting a standing arm triangle on Sam Sicilia. So grappling exchange happens. Sam Sicilia pushed against the cage as Emmanuel Sanchez has a body lock from the back. Sam Sicilia doesn't watch where the hands are going. Emmanuel Sanchez slowly climbs up the back, locks in head and arm triangle from standing, pulls him down, and just beautiful technique in the first round. So the main event, you had Fedor Emelianenko versus Frank Mir. What to say about this? So Fedor winning in the first round via knockout. If you haven't seen it already, he won via uppercut. I mean, these guys just went for it. They swung, they fought, and they're heavyweights. Yeah, Fedor's positioning was wrong. Whatever. Like, he threw from the hip. There's not really a lot of yeah. He's a heavyweight. That's what he had. Frank caught him clean, and then Frank rushed him. I don't know why he did that. Obviously, as he rushed him, Frank was off or not an athletic stance like we were talking about before. As Fedor clipped him, he fell forward. All his weight was too far forward. And that just allowed Fedor to get on top, throw in some finishing blows, and pretty much get the fight called. Now, with that being said, Fedor's next opponent will be no other than the American gangster Chael Sonnen. And to be fair, not a bad fight. I'm actually kind of excited for it. You have the last emperor from Russia versus the shit talker from the United States, the original OG bad guy. A lot of shit talking from Chael's side, no shit talking from Fedor's side. Just, a lot of you entertain me kind of thing. You know what I mean? The name of that game is going to be Chael's All-American Wrestling versus Fedor's Sambo takedown defense. Can Chael just double him for 2 rounds or for 3 rounds, or is Fedor going to be able to land some hands just like he did on Frank? And are we going to see Fedor climb through this heavyweight Grand Prix to get to that fight against Matt Mitrione again, or are we going to see Chael versus whoever in the next bout? So the next fight that comes after this is going to be the final quarterfinal, which is King Mo versus Ryan Bader. Excited for that match. Cannot wait. So after that, whoever wins that fight will fight Matt Mitrione, and then Chael versus Fedor, and then whoever wins that fight, obviously finale. So a lot in the works. I'm putting more of my money on Matt to win this whole thing. He's the real true heavyweight still left in the tournament. He's athletic, hits the hardest out of everyone, and as long as he works on that wrestling defense, he should be fine against King Mo or Ryan Bader. And then when it comes to Fedor, you know, he feels confident he can beat him again, I'm sure. And then when it comes to Chael Sonnen, I mean, that's a very, very hard match for Chael. Like, I don't know if I'd even want to see that. So I have Matt pretty much win the only thing. My dark horse in this would be Ryan Bader because of his unassuming power, or not unassuming power, but his power that can probably translate to heavyweight. And then his wrestling. His wrestling is... We'll see how he does against King Mo. Have they fought before? No, they haven't fought before. No, they haven't fought before. His wrestling against King Mo, we'll see. But he's my dark horse, and then Matt is my overall winner. So we're going to get into a little bit of gossip. I've only been going for 30 minutes or so we got we got some stuff to talk about. Nothing blowing your hair back in the media this week, unless you're into politics, I guess. I don't know. I mean, shout out to North Korea and South Korea, essentially, getting a peace treaty together. That's pretty interesting. If we have a unified Korea by the end of 2019, that would be really, really cool, And it's real funny because Kim Jong-un is just like, yeah, we're way behind on technology. I admit it. We fucking don't have anything. I have to take a plane, then I have to take a train, and I have to do all this to meet with you. Oh, yeah, you're right. So we'll see if it's a ploy, but otherwise, if it's not, that's fucking cool. World peace. All right, so some gossip. Before I get into that, shout out obviously to the Charlotte Jiu-Jitsu Academy run by the one and only John Piper. Thank you so much, Coach, for having a bunch of cool guys coming in all the time to share knowledge and get good rolls with. If you're ever in the Charlotte area, that's the place to go. Super easy to find. Once again, Charlotte Jiu-Jitsu Academy. And then on top of that, UFC Gym in Matthews, where I work and coach. Shout out to the guys there, all the coaches, and we got guys fighting this weekend, right? So shout out to Kendall Morris and Philippe. They will be fighting this weekend in Hickory at the Blue Ridge Harley Davidson. We've got Kendall fighting on an MMA card, or MMA fight, his first amateur MMA fight. All I can say is, man, it's going to be a long night for the other dude. Kendall is on fire, son. Yeah, you just watch out, man. Once Kendall gets on the scene this weekend, people are eventually going to be scared to fight him. But, man, just get ready. Get ready. I'll hopefully get to grab some video. I'll grab some video and put it up. But, yeah. So, Kendall, we got him. And then Philippe, I like to compare him to not necessarily Jose Aldo in the sense that he looks like Jose. He's a Brazilian. It's nothing like that. It's more the way he fights Muay Thai. Brazilians love their Muay Thai. And he fights with that ferocity that the Brazilians fight with. They love the ferocity. And Edson Barbosa fights that way. They have this the meanness of their kicks. And he's the same way. All his punches, power, quick reflexes, and a mix of a soccer the reflexes of a soccer player / kicks of a soccer player, and then the technique of a Muay Thai fighter. He's so we'll see. I'm excited. I'm super excited to watch these guys go. They put the training in, put the sweat in, whether it be at the UFC gym or training outside. No rest for the wicked. I'm excited to be in their corners this weekend, and I will come back with hopefully all good news. Also this weekend, Cinco de Mayo, so celebrations will be in hand. But other than that, all right, let's get to the gossip. First on the list, coming to fight potential matchups, why don't we start with the Nate Diaz in talks for UFC 227. It's a possibility. Nate's looking for that cash, baby, for that one and only cash. Jake Shields recently talked with media saying that Nate's in Nate's in the money fight business, and he's looking for money, not necessarily for the Conor fight. Not much more to say about that. Both Conor and Nate have been talking about coming back, and until I see a fight deal, match, whatever signed, there's no real point in sweating over it. That's the news. There's nothing much. There's nothing more to it. Um, if you expect more, you just have to personally wait, right? There's no breaking news. It's nothing like that. But at least we got Nate talking. At least he's talking to somebody. We've seen him train. We've seen pictures of him training. But we got him talking. And we got a date, essentially. Like, we have not necessarily Nate's talking about coming back. Not Nate's back in training. Nate's talking about coming back to 227, and he's talking with UFC officials, not just talking, right? Not just talking to his teammates. So next, for those that are in the grappling world and are a fan of the grappling world, we have a special match this weekend at ABC. I don't know how much I should be supporting this. I don't have Flow Grappling. I guess that's where you watch it. I don't know if we really even should be supporting ACB because of who runs it, but I don't know. I don't really know the politics of it to get too deep into it. I might study it one day, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm a fight fan and a submission fan, or submission grappling fan. But Gordon Ryan versus Vinny Maglia's this weekend. So if you have Flow Grappling, Flow Combat, whatever the website subscription is, check it out. Try it out. All right, and before we get into the one... And then Chad Mendes is thinking about a return to the UFC as well. He's returning. His suspension's over. He's talked about Frankie as a possible return matchup. I don't really see that. Frankie knocked him out clean, quick. Chad Mendes on the return. You could give him Duho Choi. You could give him... I'd like to see him against a new face. I mean, featherweight's pretty stacked right now. You could do a Cub Swanson, right? You could do a how am I forgetting this right now? Anyway, you can do like a Ricardo Lamas. You can do a lot of guys. I was gonna suggest a Jeremy Stevens, but that's a step back for Jeremy because he's on the way to trying to solidify himself as the next title contender. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys. I'd personally like to see him against someone he hasn't fought yet, because that'd be kind of cool. Also, like I said, Frankie already beat him. And Frankie's, should be next in line to fight the winner of Max Holloway versus Brian Ortega. Once again, it would be a step back from Frankie. And then the final thing I have for you in gossip is, because I know there's a lot of people that like the Ronda and Conor news. So Conor news, here it is. I don't know anything. We're just waiting. There's pictures of him. His friends fighting this weekend. One of the guys from SBG. And he posted a picture of Conor, him, final day of sparring, and and I don't know. Conor's training, legal stuff he has to get ready for. Other than that, not much to think. And then, the Ronda news. She did a interview recently where she said, I felt like it was a privilege for the media to talk to me. And that's why she didn't, that's what her excuse for media silence was. This is piggybacking off of an interview she did before that, saying that the 2 losses in the UFC were the greatest things to happen to her, so that way she could figure out what her real passion was, which is this WWE, da-da-da-da-da. But that statement of the privilege to talk to me, that rubs me the wrong way. You're no Gandhi. You're no Buddha. You're no Jesus Christ. You're nothing incarnate that gives you the right to tell another person if they have the privilege to talk to you. At that moment, you're a prize fighter. That's what you were. That's all you were. Yes, you had the influence of women everywhere, and you started a new division and the frontier of women's MMA. Congratulations, that's all great things. But to tell people that are just trying to do their job to make your job better, and then to come off and say that you don't have the privilege to talk to me, there's more people in the UFC that would have. Conor McGregor has more of a stance to say they don't have a privilege to talk to me. Floyd Mayweather has more of a right to say you have the privilege to talk to me. But all these guys do interviews and they do media because they know that's what it takes to make that money. That's what it takes to get better. And you have to give back, right? If you don't give back, you're essentially one of those people that you win the lottery, and not necessarily I'm saying everyone that wins the lottery has to do this, or one of these very big Bill Gates is the perfect example. A guy that has so much money to the point where it would be embarrassing if he didn't give it away. If a guy that had that much money just hoarded all of that money, my question would be like, why is he hoarding all that money? Like, what is he going to do with it? It's the same thing. Just because you're at a certain level, if you don't look back and remember where you came from, one day it's going to bite you on the ass. And it did. You got knocked out twice in front of millions of people, and not flattering at all. Right? I don't know if I believe in karma or anything like that, but if you're going to act like a bitch to everybody and then you get knocked out and then you get sad like, I don't understand where all this hate came from, and I just cried for days with my husband, da 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 da. Like, well, yeah, the memes came out because you were mean. Like, if you're the bad guy and you lose, well, that's where the memes come from. If I'm a good guy and I lose, people are gonna be sympathetic. There's a great thing that came out recently that it had me dying. I saw it on YouTube or on Instagram. It was a post about this person complaining. How come when Taylor Swift puts out an album about her dumping all her boyfriends, everyone gets all angry at Taylor Swift and tells her to shut up, but when The Weeknd puts out an album about dumping his exes, it's the biggest thing ever? And then the top comment was, because we hate Taylor Swift. That's it. That's a statement. People are tribal in that sense. If you get enough people to root against you, as soon as you lose, they're not going to be like, oh, well, now it's time to take the foot off the gas and, we'll mercy kill this one. Oh, no. That's just the beginning. People are ruthless. The internet's ruthless, especially if they don't have to stand face to face with you. Oh, you losing in the middle of the octagon is just the beginning. Then you have to replay, and then they're going to replay all that shit talking. Even Kevin Lee, when he beat Edson Barbosa, people posted him getting wheel kicked and doing the chicken dance, and that's what they talked about. That's a dude that beat a guy up for 5 rounds, brutally beat him up, stopped him because the doctor looked at him and goes, no more. Not because the guy stopped it, because the doctor had to pull him aside and go, no more. Even he, the guy that beat him, suffered from haters. So to come out with some arrogant statement that you think the world owes you something, or that people don't deserve to be in your presence, I don't know what it's going to be, but you can only fall from the top so many times. And I mean, in my worldview, going to the WWE is not necessarily a sellout to me. It's more of like, you couldn't fucking handle it in the octagon, and so you took up fake fighting. You cashed in for fake fighting. And I know, it's good money. It's good money. But you can also make good money in the UFC, and she could still make good money in the UFC. She just decided not to address any of her technique issues, any of her corner issues, any of her media issues, any of her emotional, mental, whatever issues. She couldn't handle it there, so she's going to take it to another place. What happens when she becomes the heel in the WWE and then she has a fall from grace there? Her quote unquote passion, what she was built for, her life, whatever she wants to call this, what her real career was. Oh, MMA was a stepping stone to actually get me here. Whatever it is, you can forget about us. You can put us in the rear view mirror, but they'll forget about you in WWE. And that's just, I mean, eventually people are just going to forget about you. And the more that you try to forget about us and you try to forget about your former fans and all the people in MMA, it's going to be a very lonely life. It's going to be a very lonely life. But on the judo aspect, one of these judokas, Kayla, I don't know, MMA judo practitioner making MMA debut. Well, there's a judoka that's making an MMA debut. I think she's one of Ronda's MMA training partner or judoka training partners at one point, making her MMA debut. Oh, excuse me. So that should be good. Anyway, that's off my soapbox. That's enough of that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Like I said, no fights this weekend. God. No fights this weekend. Next weekend, actually fights this weekend. Like I said, if you're in the area, go to the Harley Davidson in the Blue Ridge Parkway in Hickory to watch some fights. Fight for it. Too. Fight to win too. Yeah. Fight to win too. A couple MMA fights, a couple kickboxing fights. Should be a good time. I'm excited. It's the way I'm going to celebrate my Cinco de Mayo. I hope you guys celebrate yours in whatever way it may be. But other than that, enjoy another weekend to your guys' self before we get back onto the fight schedule. We do 2 weeks right now off, and then we're back getting geared up for UFC 224. So once again, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Southern Scrap Nation's podcast. I'm once again your host, Daniel Jonas. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Southern Scrap Nation. And, subscribe to the channel. YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play, guys. Thank you again. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll be back next week for another episode of Sips and Slips.